Hey everybody, it's me, Max Farrell from DexFxMarkets.com. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to use the signals plus the charts to buy signals and buy trades over and statements over on Nadex, and how to use some of the data in here to help us make better decisions. Okay. Now, keep in mind when we have a signal like this, we've already added on. Clear sorting. We've already added on the 2 extra pips. So what is a pip? 2449. The fourth digit from the left, from this decimal point here, that's the pip. So we've already added 2 pips to that on the sell and the buy sides. So when we do this, it's adding on the indicative price of Nadex. If you're not sure what the indicative price is, real simply enough, it's basically an average of the last 5 prices, 20 prices, whatever it is, and averages out. And it's always comes out to be about 1 pip to 2 pips, 1.7 to be exact, at times above the current price of Forex. So it changes. So what we have done is we added that on. So as we did in the previous segment, we got this Great Britain Pound USD at 24.49, but there wasn't a statement available at 24.49. It was 48. Now, because it's a sell, we want it higher. When it's a buy, we want it lower. So if it was 24.47 and a buy, we wouldn't want to come up to 48. We'd have to come down to 38 at that point. It's the same situation in reverse. Now, how can we go look at the system and learn the system? Well, on 2-hour trades, there's a chart system. And this chart system has a 15-minute chart attached to it with our TNT and glycerin strategies on it. Now I'm going to come down to the Great Britain Pound USD and I'm going to show you what the TNT strategy really is. It's all about these priority systems here, one being the support and resistance areas. There's these red and green lines, darker green and redder and green lines, and our priority arrow system, which is our movement processor that says where is the market going at certain times within certain blocks of time. Okay, and these chunks will give us information about the market movement. So what we look for in our regular TNT strategy, we always were looking for the market movement up, get a little bit of pullback, and the first hour out of market movement up, we would go back and put a signal on. But what we found with that system is that there were trades going on, had high success rate, but there were far few between. You'd have to wait a couple of days on a 2-hour chart to actually get to something really good. Now, what we've decided to do is to create and release this process of our 2-hour signal system, and it's based off of what we call our glycerin process. Get it? TNT sweats glycerin. Well, actually sweats nitroglycerin, but in this case we're going to be talking about glycerin. And what that means is that the rules are simple. One, that the trend of the SMA, the simple moving average, has to be in an up pattern over the last 5 bars. This is a perfect example here, is that the arrow that fires here, this SMA is not really in an upwards pattern, sort of sideways, right? Same thing with this one. Over the last 5 bars, this has really been almost into a down. It's not till right here till we see that the pattern of the SMA is pointing up. So that's rule number 1. SMA must be in the direction of the arrow. Boom, check number 1. Price of the bar before the arrow, so this bar right here, has to be above the SMA. Check. So this becomes a signal. Now, once it becomes a signal, where do we insert the actual number for the open? Well, we come all the way back to that bar that we used for the be above the price, and we come all the way down on the same latitude of that bar, and we hold it over the SMA. And we look over to the right, and that is 1.2344. And that's the area that we go with. Now, there's other things involved, support and resistance wise, that we could utilize to be able to creep in closer to the actual win rate or the actual pricing to get us better trades. So let's go over here to this last one that we just did on the Great Britain Pound USD on the sell. And let's look at the rules. First rule, is the SMA pointing down? Check. Is the price previous bar lower than the SMA? Check. Now we come back and we look at that previous bar, 2452, 2451. And what was the signal at? 2449. Now, keep in mind, sometimes the chart might be just a little tiny off than what the signal is. But let me tell you, there's still a large amount more success rate in this process. And I'll show you what I mean by that in here in a second. Let's look at the support and resistance areas. Okay, these green lines. When you see two lines together, if you see one darker than the other, the ones that are darker have more weight than the ones that are lighter. Okay, and if you see red over green, red is strongest out of them all. So if you see a dark green and a light green, stay on the dark green. If you see two light greens, stay in the middle. If you see two reds, stay in the middle. That's the rule. So what we're going to use this little darker green area right here as what we call a choke up. And in that choke up, I'm going to come onto the 2433. I'm going to add 2 pips up, go to 2435. I'm going to shoot over to Nadex to see if there's a statement on there. 2438 is the closest thing, and that's the one I'm going to utilize. I'm going to pop on and do one contract. I'm going to do $25 because that's what I want for my profit margin. I'm going to hit place order. Now, when I do this, the one that I have in that's just the regular one that I did from the signal, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to remove that because I'm up almost 20 pips on the system here. Now, you might find that this gets bought here pretty quickly because I've cheated it in some. Now, what the success rate is for those little cheat-ins, those little push-ins to these levels is unknown, okay? So when I say to you, be very careful when you're doing this, I mean it. That the success rate, even though that the Great Britain Pound USD has a high success rate for this time, let me see if I can isolate that here. And we'll show you how to do that here in a video next. It's 89%, does not mean cheating it into the next level is going to have an 89% success, okay? But it's probably pretty likely that it's going to honor those support and resistance areas at that section, okay? Because you can kind of see it honored it here, kind of pushed it right there again. You had to buy through in this area, so that's pretty strong. And if we go back further and further and further, you'll see it proven time and time again. That's why the lines are there. But the concept is still the same. Over this period of time for the next hour, we could see if there's no news-related systems that it could still continue to go on down. And we possibly would have gotten an opportunity to trade in that solution. Okay, that's basically using the charts. There's another pattern in the in the solution for the TNT, and we refer to this as the glycerin. Now, the glycerin that we just showed you has another template called the nitroglycerin, and what this means is that the same rules apply to the system. That the arrow has to be the direction of the SMA has to be strong. The arrow has to be in a direction, and the price has to be above or below depending on the direction. So if the direction is a buy on the SMA, then the price has to be above the SMA. Okay, same thing here. The arrow, even though that's normally we would be looking for a buy, the nitroglycerin says that any arrow that has the price above and the SMA pointing in a direction strongly will validate that and stay strong, will honor that SMA pretty strongly at a very high rate of success. Now, the next thing you have to look at as a trader is whether or not you want to honor the support and resistance areas. Okay. Now, again, if you come back too close, I like to give myself a little bit of room. Okay, because if we're going to be doing a buy, even though that this arrow says a sell, okay, there is a process to where you can still use a sell, but at the higher levels. But again, I don't trust that without a lot of testing. But in this case, I would come up a few bars to where something is there to be proven pretty strongly. And that's here. These couple of these bars may not have been made by this information here. But I see that this level right here has a very strong resistance area to it. So this is a possibility for you to be able to get into here at the 23.99. Now, being also that's a 0-0 level, 2400, is another good indicator of that level. Okay, but this will play true time and time again, and you can actually trade at that level of the process, even though that this trade may look like it lost, it actually won because it was above this SMA. Even if you came back at this level, it's still won from that solution. All right, I'm Max Farrell. This is DexFxMarkets.com. I look forward to seeing you next time, and as always, trade well.